Right before we come on, Ian Rappaport reports the Jags are sending Trevis Gipson, or at least have agreed to send Trevis Gipson to Seattle for a late-round pick. That's the kind of move you make when you don't think that guy's going to make your team, right? If he is the backup, if he's like the number 3 edge rusher on this team, you're not trading him for a 6th-round pick or a 7th, that can improve to a 6th or whatever this turns out to be.
Not usually, no.
Right? I mean, is this a signal? So I was talking with Dan and Jeff. They brought up the specter of they have their eyes on somebody else on the outside coming in. Do they just like somebody more on this roster and we've overlooked that player? What do you think?
I thought watching the game on Friday night and then, seeing it on Saturday when I got to watch it, I was surprised about how early and often Yasir Abdullah was playing on Friday. Like, when they put him out there for the first time, I was like, this is interesting. Like, the timing of it was interesting, and I thought he played pretty well on Friday night. And they were asking him to basically play defensive end, maybe a little bit of outside linebacker, let him rush. When he was playing on Friday, I was like, this is interesting. I don't know what this is about. I don't even know if that explains why they're trading Trevis Gipson at this point. But Yasir Abdullah, we talked about it a lot last week with the expected decisions they're going to have to make with the 53. I didn't know if Abdullah was on the right or wrong side of the 53 going into year 2 for him. I thought watching the game from Friday night, it made it pretty clear to me he's on the right side of the 53.
Agreed.
Right? Like, that's what it felt like watching it. I don't know if Miles Cole is enough to feel okay, about that guy being in that kind of position. Dave, I look at it, it's hard to explain why you would trade a guy like Gipson, even if it means we feel really good about Yasir Abdullah. It's like, okay, but he's smaller, right? Like, there are things that he just can't do that you would feel like we've all assumed Gipson was going to give them as the direct backup, the first guy coming off the bench whenever Walker or Hines Allen would need a break. I don't know who that guy is.
Yeah.
Right now for the football team, they open that wide open.
Well, I mean, there's definitely something going on. So we may not see it. We may not understand exactly right now, but there's something happening. I think with Abdullah being a guy that they brought in themselves, so they want to continue to give this guy opportunities. And Gipson is just somebody they felt like, maybe was a little bit expendable, but then they can get something for him. Like you said, it doesn't make a lot of sense because you would think he would be one of those guys in the rotation with our D-line being able to get guys in and out. But I'm just thinking, like you said, I think it's something to do with Abdullah. Or, Mike, like you said, maybe there's somebody else they're looking at that they could do something with. And
it's possible.
Whatever, yeah.
Is DJ Coleman a guy that they want to find a way to keep on this team? He's more of the size of Trevis Gipson. At least it's tough to know exactly how big these guys are, right? Because they come in the league, they get listed at whatever, and they never update it, right? But if you look at Trevis Gipson, came into the league, he's like 6'3", 263.
He looks that big.
He does, right? Yasir Abdullah is listed at 240, and he looks like a guy. If he's not 240, he's in the 240s, right? That kind of thing. So they're different types of guys. Doesn't mean they can't both be effective. It just, I don't know anybody who, and I'm not there every second of the day. I'm talking about the beat guys like Demetrius, like John Shipley, who will join us today at 10:40. That didn't think Gipson was right there as the next man up. And I guess, look, maybe it's a case you've got so many different combinations with these defensive tackles. Maybe they think Mason Smith can play a little end for them. Maybe they think, well, when we rotate some of these other guys in and we take one of Josh Hines Allen or Trayvon Walker off the field, Eric Armstead can slide out for a series.
That has to be part of it.
Right, it has
to
be.
It requires for them to make this kind of move that they feel okay with a couple of guys that maybe would primarily be interior guys, but can play outside when we need them to.
Correct.
Right? Like, that's part of the answer to whatever this puzzle is that we're trying to put together. But we've gone through the entire offseason since they signed Gipson. We've never said, well, now it's set in stone. They're fine at this position, right? That's never been how we approached where they were with the guys behind their top couple of guys at the edge spot. But it was, we feel okay about Gipson.
And we always assumed that's the guy. He's had a little bit of a track record rushing the quarterback.
And a bunch of other stuff where we're like, I don't know.
And I thought he played well. Like, again, I watched, I'll be honest with you. I didn't rewatch all the second half. Okay?
Yeah.
I didn't.
I tried, and then I was like,
I rewatched those first few drives
yeah.
multiple times, and I thought Trevis Gipson, coming off the edge, was getting some pressure in the backfield. It wasn't a big sack game for the Jags, but, it didn't take much. Your eyes told you Trayvon Walker had a hell of a game.
He sure did.
Trayvon Walker was a wrecking ball. He's getting pressures, got the sack, knocking down a pass, doing a little everything. He looks primed and ready to go. But, Doug's talking about we got a wave of 8 guys that were going to run at you. Mm-hmm. And you assumed, or we all assumed, Gipson was going to be one of those guys. It doesn't appear like that's the case. And again, it's one thing. If somebody steps up and says, man, give you a 3rd-round pick. Well, okay.
Yeah.
You got to think, all right, how long is he likely to be here? What is he going to give us? What is that 3rd-round pick worth, particularly if we need to package something next year? We got this extra draft capital. You're talking about, if they send Gipson and a 7th for a 6th, which this is what this smells like. I don't know if that's the case or not. But if it's something like that, it's like, well, then clearly we were all wrong about how safe he was and whether or not he was even going to make this football team.
Hey, Mia here, and thanks so much for watching 1010XL Jaguars. For even more coverage of the Big Cats, be sure to subscribe to 1010XL Jaguars.